Hello and thank you for joining us at Data Cloud Europe 2015 in Monaco. My name's Stephen Pritchard. Joining us now is Harald Summa from DeKix. Harald, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
It's a pleasure.
Now, you are a developer of the Internet of the Future, or one of the companies that are driving this idea of the Internet of the Future. Tell me what you understand by that. What does it mean?
Okay, as you may know, the Internet is not just a single network. It is a compound of 55,000 single networks, and we are the linking pin between all of them. So we are an interconnection platform that brings together carriers, ISPs, CDNs, and of course data centers to exchange traffic from one part to the other part of the Internet.
Tell us a little bit of the history of DeKix for people who may not know you already.
It's an interesting story. So in the beginning was around 1990. There were only a few ISPs around. And the question was, how could they send emails from one network to the other? This happened in 1990 between Europe and the US. So every email went to the US and came on the same line, maybe back to the other ISP. Of course, this created cost, and all of a sudden the ISPs realized that and said, okay, come on, that doesn't make sense. Let's create exchange points in Europe. And this actually happened in 1995, where DeKix was created by 7 or 8 ISPs at that time that set up an organization that was running a switch and that connected these ISPs to exchange traffic. Very simple story.
So in that time, though, we've seen the Internet evolve enormously as a platform for different services. So the idea of email creating bandwidth problems perhaps seems a bit strange now. But if you put that in the context of what people are doing now with photography, with music, with video, with live teleconferencing and telecoms, all going over the same infrastructure, how much more difficult is the job?
Well, when we started, I still remember we had something around 30 megabit of traffic. Today we exchanging 4 terabit per second. So this is a tremendous growth over the years, and the challenge is how we will make it in the future. So looking at DeKix today, it is a platform, not a single machine. It's a platform distributed over the city of Frankfurt in 18 data centers and consisting of huge machines called switches that handle up to 40 terabit of traffic. We think that this capacity might help us to do our job until 2020, and what's coming next, we don't know. Maybe it will be decentralized again, or maybe it will become either a bigger machine and a bigger environment, we don't know.
Are there some significant bottlenecks in the European marketplace, or significant potential bottlenecks if we don't invest?
So far, I don't see any bottlenecks. The industry is just changing from 10 gigabit capacity to 100 gigabit as the standard. We see that in a lot of countries all over Europe, the IXs are growing and expanding. So I would see no difficulties in the foreseeing future. So until 2025, we might be very safe.
Why is it important for the evolution of the industry that we have carrier-neutral interchanges?
To avoid monopolies, and that's especially necessary because monopolies could hinder the development of certain applications. Let's take an example. In the Middle East, we have strong incumbents still, but they don't have an internet industry as we know it here in Europe. So by setting up an exchange in Dubai, we brought 5 new data centers into this area and a lot of carriers from all over the world. And now this country is facing what we call an internet industry, and we will see how it will develop.
Is that then an area that you feel is going to be important for expansion for all the players in the industry? Are we going to see this infrastructure moving from Central Europe, from the UK, over to Africa and the Middle East, and those becoming significant markets for you, significant markets for other people in the industry?
It's interesting. In the beginning, going back, we had this movement of traffic from the east coast of America into Europe, London, Amsterdam, Frankfurt, and then we anticipated that it might move over to Moscow. Therefore, we went to Moscow and invited the guys from the Russian and Eastern European countries to come to Frankfurt. And the same we see now in a north-south movement. That means that traffic from London is now moving into the Mediterraneans. We just opened up Marseille, Palermo, Istanbul, and I think this will be the next step, because the internet industry in the North African part of the world is not yet ready for international interconnection. So we bring in the content closer to North Africa, and expecting it to be picked up in those places that I just mentioned.
And how much of an impact do you anticipate the cloud having as it continues to evolve? There's so many things being done on the cloud now that we couldn't have envisaged even if we had this conversation 5 years ago. Yeah. And there's all these new services coming in, particularly consumer services, but not only consumer services, that are only going to increase the demand for bandwidth. How can we cope with that?
Well, what we need is more data centers. Data centers are essential. We need more carrier neutral data centers to bring everybody in and have a competition in the services, in the features. And of course we need more of interconnection points where we can bring the data from the end user into the data centers and exchange it into other applications. So we see an increase of data centers over the next 10 years by more than 150%. It is the demand that is obvious, and it will be organized, and it needs, of course, then to be interconnected.
Harald Summa from TechX, thank you very much.
You're welcome.